of a small coastal church in Scotland watched the rain lash against his window. The voice that spoke inside him sounded reasonable enough. Why go out tonight? There won't be a soul out. It was one of the stormiest nights of the whole winter. But somewhere deep inside of him, he knew he must conduct that evening service. So he put on his raincoat, took his lantern, and stepped out into the blackness. He hunkered down against the gale-force winds and the blinding rain. On and up he plodded until he came to this church, which stood high on a hill above the coast. When he opened the door, he set the lantern in the window, and then he sat down to wait for the congregants. Well, a congregation that understandably never came. At last, seeing he would be quite alone, he sang a hymn and he prayed. He prayed for quite a while. Then, his duty performed, he locked the church and went down the hill. Had it been a waste of his time? He asked himself. But the next morning, he learned that it had not. The night before, the storm was at its worst. A fishing vessel had been trying to make safe landing in the harbor. The skipper was floundering around in the blackness until he saw this small light in a window of a building high on a hill. It was the lantern in the old church. Without the lantern, the ship would have surely been carried out into the rocks. But thanks to that small but steady light in the window of a building high upon a hill, he was able to bring his boat in for safety. It was a lesson to the minister and can be a lesson to all of us, as we might choose to emit any light that we have, to emit it into the darkness. No matter how small we think our light is, it will never be wasted. That story was by Vincent Edwards. And so we gather here the Sunday before Christmas to talk about the light. It's perfect. And we like the light. I love the light. When I go into meditation, that's what I see. I see golden light. That's what I see, light. So I know that that is the divine. That is God appearing in and through my dreams. So the light is very special. The power of the light that is a focus of this Christmas season, as well as many other holidays in this season. We have many holidays of light. And we have the upcoming winter solstice taking place. So tomorrow, Monday, will be the darkest day of the year. And then every day after that, it gets a little lighter and a little lighter until we have that nice light until 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, which I love. So from a religious science / New Thought perspective, this is what Christmas is all about. Our traditional Christian friends define it as the birth of Christ. We look at it as a time to acknowledge and honor the birth of the man who became the Christ, and to see what it really means for us in our belief system. And I love these words. I love these words from New Thought leader and author Eric Butterworth, one of my favorites. Christ, he writes this, Christ was not born in Bethlehem, Jesus was. The birth of Christ goes back way further than that, to Genesis 1, where it says, God created man in his own image. Jesus was not the creation of the Christ in man. He discovered the Christ dimension in himself and fulfilled his potential. And so the Christmas story, Butterworth tells us, does not end with the birth of Christ. Instead, it foretells of the Christ in you and compels you on your own awakening. That is what Christmas is really all about, the celebration of the birth of the Christ-light in each and every one of us. And so the question this morning is, what does it mean to awaken to the Christ-light? What does that mean, the light of Christ within us? Of course, to awaken means to emerge from sleep or a sleep-like state. And it's to give new life, to stir up. It implies that there was life before the sleep. And to cease sleeping is to return to the natural state of life and light. So in our physical universe, which is what we are having here in this human realm, think about the sun. I always love this analogy. The sun is always shining. It's always shining. It is a source of not only life, but light. Its light is always there. Clouds may come along and darken it, and it might look like the sun is not out, but we know that that light is always shining, right? We know this. The sun may appear to go down at night, but that's an illusion, as is life. It continues to shine at all times, and it is always giving life. The sun always works, right? It's like the divinity, the light within us. It is always present, and those clouds of life, those situations, those circumstances that we all find ourselves in, because we do, we're having a human experience here, will pass, just like the clouds will pass, and that divinity within us will shine forth. We only have to make the conscious decision to light the spirit, that spirit within us, and that's what it means to awaken. So, as I do at Christmas, I love to look at the candle. I use that as a symbol. So, it's a symbol for our light. If this was a Christmas Eve service, we would be lighting little candles, each one of us. So I would like to suggest this morning that the wick that runs through the center of that candle represents the spirit within us. It is the wick that provides the light. It's the wick in the candle that provides the light. The wick is always there, or else the candle won't burn. There won't be. There'll be a lump of wax. And the lighting of that wick represents our choice to awaken. This morning, I invite you to think about what the lighting of your wick could look like to you. What might your awakening to the Christ light mean to you? What if you made a conscious, deliberate choice to spread light wherever you went? When you went to the space of those who live, breathe, and practice living in and from this light, you can feel a different energy in the room. You really can, can't you? When someone walks in the room and they're full of light, you can feel the room shift, the changes, the energy shifts, because the light will always cast out any darkness. Always, always, and always. And what if you made a conscious choice to be one of those people? Not tomorrow, not when you awaken or are enlightened, not when you're more educated, but right here, right now, to be the light. As we learned from the story of the lantern in the church window earlier, one person who decides to shine his or her light can do one small thing to change the world. A little girl wanted to attend a school with her neighborhood friends. And What did she do? She began the desegregation of schools in the South. One man went on a hunger strike, and he changed the history of India. A nun's work with the poor showed all what compassion truly looks like. A man who practiced forgiveness changed the course of history in South Africa. A man 2,000 years ago who knew his divinity, his light, and so lived from it that it impacted the world, and today we celebrate his birth. So every one of them did just one thing. One thing. One person letting their light shine can alter the course of history. You didn't know you were that powerful? You are. Each and every one of us. Powerful beings of light. As Matthew said in chapter 5, verse 14. He didn't say it. Jesus told the multitude. It was at Matthew. You are the light of the world. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Commenting on this Bible passage, Ernest Holmes tells us, we are the candles of the Lord. How important then that this light be kept trimmed and burning with the oil of pure spirit through the wick of peace and joy in the way we do glorify that indwelling God, who is the heavenly Father and cosmic Mother of all. That was Ernest Holmes in Science of Mind. And then we have Eric Butterworth again telling us, when you see from a consciousness of light, you project a flow of light energy that becomes a healing influence. I know that we want to be that healing influence in this world. I know we do. And you really don't need to do anything. This is the beauty of it. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. You just need to make a conscious decision to be the light and then let it be. That's all you have to do. Leave the house and intend for the day that I be a light on this planet in whatever way it shows up. And it shows up in some pretty weird ways. But you know what? We don't have to know what takes place after. We just be the light and everything else is as it is. That's the way it is. I'm thinking of yesterday. I'll tell you a little story. It seems like a silly little story, but the more I thought about it, the more it became quite profound to me. So I'm sitting at a light, crossing 73 on Green Tree Road, and I slightly tapped this woman in the car in front of me. I mean, slightly, like that, like nothing. It was an accident. She jumped out of the car and called me every name you could ever think of. Just kept calling me all of these names. And then this other car pulls up and she's sitting there, this young girl, and she's looking at me like, oh my, this woman's really. But she was so flipping out. I'm calling my attorney right now. Give me your name, give me your name. She didn't even ask for my insurance. Give me your name. And I'm thinking, I'm spelling my name, which nobody can spell. Palagye, right? P-A-L, anyway. So I'm trying to spell this through masks, and it's not working. So I'm like, there's nothing on your car. And she's going off again. And I said, you know what? I'll give you $100. You can get it buffed out. $100, you can get it more than buffed out. There was nothing there. But then I thought later on, she took it. She said, you have $100? I said, yes. And then she went on to tell me, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I'm going through a lot this season. And she's like totally having a meltdown. And then I thought about it later on. And I thought, that $100, she really needed that $100. I don't know the blessings that money brought to that woman. And I don't believe in just accidents. So that is being the light of the world. Instead of confronting her, the woman was obviously distraught. It was here. That's being the light of the world. What happened with it, I don't know. So it's actually a random act of kindness, which is being the light. When Benjamin Franklin wanted to introduce street lighting to the people of colonial Philadelphia, he did not lobby politicians. He did not publish editorials. And he did not argue with those who disagreed with him. Instead, he hung a brilliant lantern on a long bracket in front of his own home. And every evening, as dusk approached, he lit the wick. People out of the dark night could see Franklin's street light from blocks away and were grateful to walk in its warm glow. Soon Franklin's neighbors started putting out lanterns on brackets in front of their homes. And it wasn't long before the entire city was illuminated each night with street lamps. Benjamin Franklin simply became the light. He didn't ask anyone to do anything. He just faithfully lit the wick. That's what he did. People will take your example far more seriously than any word of advice that you think is brilliant. Absolutely. Your actions will always speak louder than any word. Remember, whenever you see darkness, become a point of light. There's so much darkness on this planet. Just be the light within yourself. That's all you have to do. It's really not that hard. One person can make a difference, and that person is you. Each and every one of us is a point of light. So today, as I said before, our world could really use some light. And we need to be the light beings. We say we're the light beings. We're the showers of the light. And sometimes we forget. And that's okay, because we can be reminded too. We can be reminded too. We need to return to the commitment beyond any doctrine, beyond anything we read, to the great idea that Christmas should symbolize the return of the light, if it was absent, into this world. And the awakening in each one of us to the light within. First, we have to wake up to know that there is a light within us. It is divine, it is eternal, and it will always be there, like the sun is always there. The clouds of conditions will always be present. They come, they go. So, we are awakening to that light. And I want you to listen to these words from Mary Oliver. What I want in my life is to be willing to be dazzled, to cast aside the weights of facts, and maybe even to float a little above the difficult world. I want to believe that I am looking into the radiant fire of a great mystery. I want to believe that the imperfections are nothing and that the light is everything. And I do. The light is everything. Do we believe that? For self-reflection. For self-reflection. If so, then the light of Christ is rebirth within you. So I have an affirmation. I want you to repeat this after me. I am a divine being of light.
I am a divine being of light.
Naturally expressing my life's purpose.
Naturally expressing my life's purpose.
And so it is.
Yes, so it is.
And I have a prayer. So don't turn the cameras off. let's just take a nice breath together. Let's take a breath together. As we move into this atmosphere of just openness, of receptivity, of letting go of any preconceived idea, thought, any word whatsoever, and just allow ourselves to be. Because in that being is the light of the divine, and that light of the divine is awakening and expressing in and through each and every one of us. For God is light. God is love. And so this divine love and light and peace and absolute joy are all part of creation, because all that is has been created out of the nature of the divine. And that nature is good. It is very good. We say that God is good. Do we believe that? Because God is good all the time, and so therefore we are good. The true nature of who we are is goodness itself. And so when we realize, when we awaken to that reality that we really are filled with the good of God, then our light shines naturally. And the more it shines, the more healing that takes place on this planet. And so I am declaring, as we move into all of these different holidays of light, that we feel that energy. And we keep that energy. We don't forget it. We don't lapse back into it, into the human cloudiness of circumstances. We stay vigilant in our light expression, expansion. We are truly moving forward in our lives that serve us, that bring us joy, and that bring those around us joy simply by our being, simply by who we are. I give thanks for knowing this. I give thanks for speaking this word of absolute truth. For each act of kindness is a light shining even brighter. I give thanks for these spiritual truths which are alive within us and within all life. I give thanks for being alive. I give thanks for the celebration of life itself. And so, knowing that this word is absolutely complete and truth spoken, I release it into the divine intelligent law of universal mind, where this word is made manifest. And each one of us radiate, shine our brilliant light wherever we go, and mostly within ourselves, to ourselves. And so it is.